All right, I'm going to hand things over to you, Tanisha, and I'll be here in the background.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. So yes, welcome everybody to Tech Topics, Android's Basics. I am really excited to talk to you a little bit, give you a little bit of history about Android devices, point out some really cool features that they have, and show you how to find resources that can help you use your Android device if you have one. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and let's dive right on in. So before we get started, normally, as you know, we like to start off our programs with a resource shout out. There will still be one, but I wanted to jump things off with the history of Android. So Android Incorporated was established in 2003 by Andy Rubin and Associates. So he was the leader, but he also had brought on board Rich Miner, Chris White, Nick Sears, who also helped put together the Android platform. They established it in Palo Alto, California. California, obviously, as we know, is a really big tech base, a lot of people there. It actually started out as an operating system for digital cameras, but they quickly began to realize that that was too small of a market and nobody was really interested. So they decided to expand it to handset devices and try to get some traction there. Now, unfortunately for them, when they first came out with Android, the operating system, nobody was really interested. If you attended the Apple iOS Basics last week, some of these dates might coincide, but Apple came out with their operating system in 2007. And while they were not the first company to make the smartphone, they really were the ones who put it on the map. And so Android, the developers of Android were trying really hard to catch up. And they were trying to sell their operating system to some major companies and nobody was really biting. And then magically, I guess not magically, but Google picked them up. And as we know, Google is one of the biggest companies in the world. And they picked up the Android operating system and ran with it. So they were able to reach out to some big names like Samsung, HTC, which is bigger back in that time, to get them to buy into the Android platform. And they bought it from the developers for $50 million and kept the developers onto the team as well. So Google really brought Android, put Android on the map with their connections and were able to get that going. They were also part of a consortium, I can never say that word right, called the Open Handset Alliance, which was formed in 2007, and they emphasized the use of open source software. So if you're not familiar with the term open source software, this is software that is available for free for anybody. So like, for instance, with Apple software, you can't just go to a website and download it. You have to have a device, et cetera, et cetera. Android software was available for anybody to download and develop with. So other companies that are part of this alliance were Samsung, Sprint, HTC, Motorola, T-Mobile, Qualcomm, and Texas Instrument, which are more on like the hardware of the Android system, so like chip-based things. So a bunch of really big companies got together to form this alliance. And it was kind of a response to Apple's dominance in the smartphone and tablet world as far as operating system. Like, they wanted to bring something to the table that was bigger. And they did. So as popular as Apple is, Android is the most downloaded operating system in the world. So more people have Android devices than Apple devices. We'll talk about why here in a minute, but it's the biggest one in the world. And right now, the most current version of the operating system is Android 12, which was released this month in October 2021. So last week, actually, the newest version was released. So let's talk about some significant features of the Android system. So as I mentioned before, the most significant feature is the use of free and open source software. So this software is available on hundreds of devices. So you can download it. It's also really big for developers. So like for app developers, for instance, because they can customize and do a lot more with the software and really make their apps the way they want them to be in a way that you can't do with iOS or the Apple platform. It's really wide open. It is really great for developers, really great for tablet and smartphone users, as it allows for other really cool things there. Something else that's really cool is that it allows for more continued support for older devices and apps. So if you have an Apple device, you'll notice that if you're too many updates behind, like a lot of the features will stop working. A lot of features are available for longer on Android devices. And because it's open source, it allows for quicker updates. So if there's a problem or if there's a security breach or something, they can push out updates quicker than, say, Apple. Also, the Google Play Store. So the Google Play Store is like the Apple App Store. It's the same thing. It's just for Android devices, and it has 3 million apps. And what differentiates it from the Apple App Store is that you have the option to pre-order apps. So if there's an app that you really want, you can essentially put yourself on a list to pre-order, pre-download it. If it's a paid app, you can go ahead and prepay for it, and then when it's released, it'll push out to your phone or your tablet, and it'll automatically update, which is something that Apple doesn't do, which I thought was pretty cool. And as I mentioned before, there is a diversity of devices and personalization. The Android operating system is literally available on hundreds of devices, all sorts of devices. We just got an Elmo document camera, and it is powered by Android. So you can find this software on many devices. One of the really nice things about it is that you can get an Android device at many different price points. So I'm going to use the company Samsung as an example. They have a $900 tablet, but they also have a $300 tablet. So you have your diversity of devices, different price points. Depending on how low power or high powered your device to be, there's a lot of different devices out there. Samsung it's kind of hard to get like what is the highest seller of Android devices. Samsung is one of the most popular. Google, obviously, they own Android. They have their devices, so like the Pixel phone, the Nexus tablet. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but they had or have a tablet called Nexus. So a bunch of different things, and personalization. So one of the things that you can do with your Android apps or your Android device is that you can personalize your home screen. Again, I mention all the time, I'm an Apple girl. I can't do that with my Apple phone. So your home screen, besides the apps on it, are going to stay the same. Like there's a bunch of different things that you can't customize. And so Android devices allow for a lot of customization, which is really cool if that's something you are into. Finally, cutting edge development. So even though Apple is always, I feel like sometimes Apple is always on the news for having more, cutting edge things, and some of the things they did were revolutionary. Android actually leads the way in developments in the smartphone and tablet world. One of the biggest examples of that is the use of a stylus. So a lot of Android devices you could use a stylus or something to work with before the Apple Pencil came out, for example, and the draw to text feature. So if you have a device, you could literally, like with my Apple Watch, I can draw out the letters to text somebody. So you can draw with your finger or a stylus. You can write out your text messages. You can write out your iMessage or your text messages, and you can write it with the stylus or your finger. Android did that first. So a lot of those cutting edge developments in the technology were actually done by Android first. So as I asked last week, am I going to show you how to use it? Not really, and sort of. So the issue with trying, and somebody did in the feedback, which we always appreciate, and we thank you for your feedback, had mentioned wanting to feature a certain app and how to use it. The big problem with trying to do something like that is that one thing is these apps are constantly being updated. Operating systems are constantly being updated. And so if I were to try to show you how to use an app today, that app could look completely different tomorrow. A prime example of that is the Safari browser. And I know we're talking about Android, but I'm going to use the Safari browser as an example. So Apple just came out, just like Android did, with a major update last month. And now with that update, the search bar in the browser now appears on the bottom. So you can move it back up to the top, and now it appears on the bottom. So if I were to do a program showing you how to use Safari, you would open up Safari if you had updated your phone, and now that search bar would be on the bottom. So it's really hard to teach people how to use apps because they're constantly being updated and they're constantly being developed. So how do you keep on top with all these apps? How do you know which one to use and how to use it? This is where our resource shout out comes in. So 2 resources that we have for you. On LinkedIn Learning, we have Android phone and tablet essential training. And then on gcflearnfree.org, we have Android basics. So both of these online classes provide hours of content. Another issue with learning how to use some of these, like some of these you can spend, I could do an entire hour-long class on just how to use Google Calendar, for instance. So some of these you can really go in depth to. So you can access these resources on our website, hcplc.org/research for access. And along with these wonderful resources, something else to keep in mind if there's an app or if there's a feature of your Android device that you really want to learn, YouTube is a wonderful resource. Along with all of our wonderful library videos that we have, YouTube is a wonderful resource for learning how to use them. Sometimes if you just search, like for instance, with using the Safari browser thing as an example, I wanted my search bar to go back onto the top. So I went to YouTube and I typed in bring search bar back to the top, iOS, and I was able, quick video, I think the video was like 30 seconds, and I was able to see how to do that. So along with these library resources, YouTube is also a great resource if you're wanting to learn more about the features of your Android device if you have one. So now we're going to go ahead and go to our closing slide. And I'm going to come back on camera, and Chris, let me know if there are any questions. And please be sure to ask any questions if you have them. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, questions section of the control panel. If you're on a tablet, just tap on that little question icon and you can submit them there.
All right, well, that was a great presentation as usual, and we do have a question already in here. I guess they basically want to know which is better, Android or iOS?
So that is a very popular question. Is it Apple or Android? Which one should I get? And you may not like the answer, but it is a big fat it depends. So it really depends on what you want in a device. So if you want something that is seamless, not that Android devices aren't, but if you want something that is very easy to use, apps are very easy to identify, there's not a lot of customization, so there's not a lot of room to mess things up, Apple is for you. And as I mentioned last week, Apple has a lot of handoff things. So like if you have a Mac, if you have an iPad, if you have an iPhone, if you have an Apple Watch, the seamlessness of using all these devices together can't be beat. It's really a great experience. However, if you want more control over your device, then I would definitely go with an Android device because, as I mentioned before, Apple devices are pretty locked down as far as like what you can do with them. So there's not a lot of room for customization. There's not a lot of room for making it really your own device. With Android devices, you have a lot more space for customization. And as I mentioned before, Apple products can get pretty pricey. So if you want a more economical device, there's still wonderful devices. So it's not a cheap device. They're still great devices. You have more price points with an Android item. And if you want to go from Samsung to Google Pixel to, I don't even know if Nokia still makes phones, but if you wanted to go from all these different ones, it's easier for you if you have an Android-based device versus an Apple, where if you got an Apple device, you're only going to have an iPhone. You don't have any other choice. You got to get an iPhone. So that's my answer to that.
Great answer. All right, I think that is it for questions. Great presentation, as usual, very informative. Now our next tech topics was what, November 3rd? What's the topic for that again?
We are going to be talking we're going to be talking about updating your smartphone.
That's right. Awesome. Well, the smartphone information continues into November. We're looking forward to that. And we appreciate everyone coming tonight. If you want to contact the library, you can contact us online at hcplc.org/contact. And you can also look at our events calendar there. And again, we mentioned the next one, next tech topic, same place, same time on November 3rd. All right, well, Tanisha, thank you. And thank you everyone who joined us. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.